Throughout my life, I have often found myself at the crossroads of deep emotion and reflective thought. In this moment, I invite you to join me on a journey that explores the intricate landscape of self-rejection and trauma. I share these experiences from a place of honesty and gentle understanding, hoping that my story can serve as a beacon for anyone who has wrestled with internal battles. I have often felt that the harsh voice within can diminish even the smallest glimmers of hope. This voice, shaped by past hardships and negative messages we internalize, can keep us from recognizing our true worth. I have come to understand that self-rejection is not merely a feeling, but a narrative that tells us we are unworthy of love, success, or happiness. As I set the stage for our conversation today, I reflect on the origins of these painful feelings, which sometimes begin in our childhood homes, influenced by early experiences that left a mark on our self-esteem. I share my struggles and my triumphs, acknowledging that the path to self-acceptance is neither easy nor straightforward. The journey ahead is filled with moments of introspection, vulnerability, and ultimately empowerment. I believe that by openly discussing the roots of self-rejection, we can begin to untangle the complex web of trauma and negative self-judgment. Through opening up about my own vulnerabilities, I aim to provide assurance that no one is alone in this battle. Let us explore these themes together, unraveling the threads of past hurt to discover resilience and hope. Today marks the beginning of a narrative that, while steeped in challenge, is rich with the possibility for profound healing and transformation for every heart that listens with empathy. I invite you now to breathe deeply, embrace compassion, and step forward courageously, truly. In order to truly address self-rejection, I first need to define what it means in concrete terms. Self-rejection is the process where we consistently turn away from our own worth, dismissing the qualities that make us unique and valuable. I see it as an internal struggle where negative thoughts and early criticisms shape an image of ourselves that is far removed from reality. This negativity often begins with self-doubt, a persistent internal voice that criticizes and belittles us without mercy. Reflecting on my own experiences, I realize that self-rejection stems from a variety of sources. Many of us start absorbing messages of inadequacy during our childhood. Whether it comes from a critical parent, peer pressures at school, or societal expectations, these formative experiences can plant seeds of doubt in our hearts. Over time, those seeds grow into tangled vines of self-judgment. I have learned that it is not the ideas themselves, but the repetition of those ideas that embed them deeply in our identity. The impact of self-rejection reaches far beyond moments of low confidence. It affects decision-making, relationships, and our ability to accept opportunities. It creates a cycle where the more I doubted myself, the harder it became to break free from negative thought loops. When I doubted my abilities, I often avoided challenges, gradually limiting my experiences and potential growth. This has led to missed chances for joy, passion, and success. Moreover, self-rejection can lead to mental and emotional strain, undermining our overall well-being. The burden of self-criticism can feel overwhelming, sometimes even manifesting as physical stress. Recognizing these patterns has been a turning point for me. The moment I understood that this internal critic is not an objective truth, but a distorted echo of past hurt, I began to dismantle its power. My exploration into self-rejection reinforces that acknowledging and understanding its origins is the first step in reclaiming personal strength and embracing self-love. I have come to learn that every time I pause to examine these self-limiting beliefs, I gather small pieces of insight that gradually rebuild the foundation of my self-esteem. Recognizing that self-rejection is merely one perspective among many possibilities has allowed me to embrace a more balanced and forgiving view of life. In this light, every memory and every critical thought becomes an opportunity to reflect, learn, and ultimately grow into a more authentic and empowered version of myself with sincere determination. Trauma often hides in the quiet corners of our minds, subtly influencing how we see ourselves each day. My own experiences have taught me that moments of pain, whether overt or hidden, seep into the construction of our identity. Each scar left behind by past hurts influences our self-perception, often whispering that we are unworthy of care or love. In many ways, I have seen trauma act as a quiet architect, designing the framework through which I have come to value or devalue my abilities and essence. Looking back, I recognize that many of the wounds inflicted during early years have a lasting impact. The echoes of harsh criticisms, the shadows of neglect, or even the accidental bruises of rejection create an enduring dialogue within. This internal conversation, filled with doubts and insecurities, continuously shapes my actions and reactions. Every negative memory seems to reinforce a belief that I deserve less than I truly do, leading to a persistent cycle of self-sabotage and diminished self-worth. At times, the memories of past traumas can feel overwhelming, creating layers of emotional armor that both protect and isolate me. As I navigate through life's uncertainties, I have found that acknowledging these layers is essential. Each memory, when examined with care, reveals lessons about resilience and the human capacity for healing. I have learned that understanding the origin of these hurtful experiences provides the key to unlocking the chains of self-doubt. In this journey through the labyrinth of my own history, I have embraced moments of painful recollection as opportunities for learning and transformation. I now perceive every challenging memory not as a mark of defeat, but as a stepping stone toward a deeper understanding of who I am. Embracing this perspective has been vital in reshaping my self-image and reclaiming the narrative that trauma once dictated. Slowly and steadily, I continue to make sense of the complex interplay between trauma and self-perception. Each day brings new challenges, yet also fresh opportunities to rewrite my inner dialogue. By embracing incremental progress and acknowledging the strength that lies beneath every scar, I am learning to replace old wounds with compassion and hope, building a more positive self-view that honors every facet of my experience. I remind myself that healing does not occur overnight. It is a gradual process that requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to confront our darkest memories with courage and kindness truly. For many years, I wandered through a shadowed landscape defined by self-rejection and sorrow. I remember a time when every morning felt like stepping into a gray, uninviting world. I felt weighed down by the chain of past experiences, each one echoing with the relentless voice of doubt. In those darkest moments, my inner critic was an ever-present force, magnifying every flaw and whispering that I was unworthy of love and success. I recall a particularly challenging period when setbacks and disappointments converged, leaving me feeling isolated and defeated. The memories of being overlooked, misunderstood, and harshly judged replayed over and over in my mind. In quiet solitude, I observed how every small failure seemed to confirm the negative narrative that had been built up over years. I felt trapped in a loop of self-doubt, where each misstep reinforced a cycle of despair that appeared unbreakable. One day, while sitting in a quiet corner of my favorite park, I witnessed the gentle fall of autumn leaves. Their descent reminded me that beauty can exist even in moments of decay and transition. It was in that serene setting that I experienced a quiet yet profound realization about my own journey. I understood that while pain and rejection had carved deep lines into my heart, they no longer defined my entire being. I decided then that I no longer wanted to be a prisoner to the shadows of my past. Slowly, I began to challenge the critical voice within. I started by acknowledging each negative thought as just a thought, not a definitive truth. I engaged in small rituals of self-care, taking walks during sunsets, journaling my innermost feelings, and allowing myself the grace to process each emotion without judgment. In these quiet moments of reflection, I rediscovered fragments of hope that had long been buried under layers of self-criticism. As days turned into weeks, I sought guidance from trusted friends and mentors who gently encouraged me to view myself with greater kindness. Their support helped me see that the painful memories of my past did not have to dictate the future I desired. Each conversation and shared moment of empathy contributed to slowly repairing the fractured self-image that had once seemed irreparable. Bit by bit, I assembled a new narrative, one where self-acceptance slowly replaced self-rejection. I began to understand that every dark chapter held within it the potential for growth, and that even in moments of profound despair, there existed a spark waiting to ignite change. This journey was not without setbacks, yet I persevered because I recognized that the path to healing was an arduous, but ultimately rewarding process. During those long, solitary nights when the weight of my past seemed unbearable, I slowly discovered that the process of healing was as gradual as the rising sun. Each new day presented a chance to rewrite my inner dialogue, step by step, replacing the harsh judgments with words of comfort. I began to recognize that my struggles did not define me, and that every challenge was an invitation to grow. In these transformative moments, I learned the significance of self-forgiveness, an act of bravery that allowed me to let go of entrenched fears. It took time, and it required a deep commitment to self-care and reflection, but gradually the darkness started to recede, revealing a future filled with promise and gentle light. I embraced every lesson along the way, understanding that the scars I carried were not marks of defeat, but rather symbols of strength. This journey through my inner darkness has been painful and enlightening, guiding me toward a place of renewed hope and self-compassion. Observing the patterns in my behavior has been like reading a well-worn map of old, familiar territory. Slowly, I began to notice recurring habits that signaled the grip of self-rejection in my daily life. There were moments when I would dismiss any positive feedback, quickly attributing my successes to mere luck rather than my own effort. This tendency to downplay accomplishments created a subtle yet persistent inhibition that kept me from fully embracing my potential. I often found myself avoiding situations where I might be praised, out of a fear that any spotlight would actually expose a flaw. Reflecting further, I detected other patterns that quietly contributed to my internal struggle. Negative self-talk seemed to be a constant companion, a background hum of criticism that framed each experience as a personal failure. I would often internalize disappointments, replaying them in my mind, and allowing the echoes of past mistakes to overshadow any progress made. In these moments, I realized that my mind had created a narrative where only shortcomings were acknowledged, while achievements were minimized or ignored altogether. In addition, I learned that withdrawing from others was another way in which self-rejection manifested. I would often isolate myself, believing that distancing from people would protect me from the judgment I feared. Yet, this isolation only deepened my feelings of loneliness, reinforcing the notion that I was unworthy of meaningful connection. Every act of self-sabotage, whether it was the refusal to celebrate a small victory or the dismissive attitude toward a personal strength, revealed how entrenched self-rejection had become in my behavior. As I became increasingly aware of these recurring patterns, I recognized that they were not isolated incidents, but rather interconnected expressions of a deeper issue. Each negative habit had its roots in past experiences and had evolved over time. By identifying these behaviors as part of a broader pattern, I took the first logical step towards interrupting the cycle of self-rejection. Acknowledging these habits enabled me to approach them with curiosity rather than judgment, inviting a transformation in the way I related to myself every day. By taking a mindful pause each time I noticed these behaviors, I opened a window to self-awareness. Recognizing the recurring signs of self-rejection allowed me to gently challenge and ultimately change those patterns into affirmations of worth and possibility. This conscious reflection has begun to reshape my daily interactions and self-view. Each day feels more hopeful, always. Turning the focus toward healing, I explored a wide range of strategies to mend the wounds inflicted by self-rejection and trauma. My journey led me to discover that healing is not a destination, but an ongoing process filled with small, meaningful steps. I found solace in practices that allowed me to be present, such as mindful meditation and reflective journaling. In quiet moments, I learned to soothe my inner critic by acknowledging each emotion without letting it define me. I began to invest in daily self-care routines that nurtured my body and spirit. I took long walks under the open sky, listened to calming music, and immersed myself in creative outlets that allowed me to express feelings too deep for words. Gradually, these rituals transformed my approach to life, replacing fear with gentle empowerment. I recognized that seeking professional support through therapy or counseling was not a sign of weakness, but a courageous act towards reclaiming my inner peace. Every step I took, no matter how small, built a bridge from a place of pain to a space of self-compassion. As my understanding grew, I embraced the idea that self-rejection and trauma need not be permanent conditions. Instead, with persistent effort and supportive practices, I could learn to see myself in a kinder light. My healing journey is a testament to the power of perseverance, reminding me that with each day comes a new opportunity to build resilience, foster gratitude, and ultimately redefine what it means to love oneself. I discovered that each mindful moment contributed to a gradual transformation, inviting balance and renewal into my everyday life, and ultimately proving that self-healing is a journey paved with patience and compassion. This realization has empowered me to continue embracing growth with optimism and unwavering determination. Each day feels more hopeful. As I conclude this reflective journey, I am filled with a quiet determination to rewrite my narrative. I have come to see that self-rejection and trauma, though they once cast long shadows over my life, no longer possess the final say. Every challenge faced has been a lesson in resilience and self-discovery. I now embrace a future where my worth is no longer defined by past wounds. Instead, I choose to honor the strength that emerged from every hardship, and to see each day as an opportunity for growth and new beginnings. My story is one of transformation, a reminder that even in moments of deep struggle, hope and renewal are always within reach. With this new perspective, I invite you to join me in embracing a life filled with self-compassion, courage, and boundless possibility. May every step forward illuminate your path toward healing and enduring self-love. Keep shining brightly always.